got to improve tenacity, that cutting out silly mistakes, and be much more positive in the final third. Welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue. Next up for Birmingham City is away to the bottom club, Sheffield Wednesday, on Tuesday. And this podcast, myself and Matt, are going to preview the game, give our thoughts on Sheffield Wednesday, look at their team, give you some few stats on them, and give you our thoughts on what the Blues lineup will be, as we always do in these preview podcasts. So, Matt, bottom club, they've had a torrid season, Sheffield Wednesday. Haven't won in 18 games.
Actually, Dad, I'd say they've had a torrid couple of seasons. You know, when you talk about their ownership, when you talk about Chanziri, big club, Sheffield Wednesday, well-supported club. Their fans always make a lot of noise when they come down St.Andrews, don't they? They always sell out their away end. It's sad to see a club having to go through this. But we've been through this recently, maybe not as bad as this at Sheffield Wednesday, but we've had terrible owners as well. And it's just a horrible feeling turning up every weekend, supporting your club when you're going through turmoil and such a mess, isn't it? It's just not a nice position to be in. But if we take recent form, Dad, the last game for each team, obviously we drew 1-1 away at Swansea. They lost 1-0 at home to Portsmouth.
Yeah.
And of course, when you look at their points deductions, when you look at the players they're playing at the minute, it's not looking good for Wednesday. I mean, they will be playing League One football next season, won't they? I think even their fans have resigned to that. In fact, a lot of the comments, Dad, in the post where they put on X, about full time when it was Portsmouth at home, a lot of the comments were, "Oh, thank goodness we're over halfway the season. Thank goodness, we're almost." It's almost like a sense of relief when this season's ended, and I think they've almost recited to the fact that they're going to be playing League One football next season.
Yeah, I think they accepted, that they're going to get relegated. But I think from them and their perspective, they've got to look to the future now because they've got rid of Chanziri finally. But they've got to sort out their ownership. I don't know where that is. Maybe if you're a Sheffield Wednesday fan watching this, let us know where you are in that process. But these things do take time, and I think they'll look at drawing a line after this season. Starting again in League One and then trying to build from there. But as you say, Matt, I mean, they've had an awful season. They've only picked up 11 points in total. That's one win, which was at Portsmouth 18 games ago, and 7 draws. And they're still on -7 because they got deducted 18 points in total. So,
and one of those draws was at St.Andrews, Dad?
Yeah, they drew 2-2 at St.Andrews. And, again, for Sheffield Wednesday, they haven't won at home all season. And they've got to, looking at the fixture against Birmingham City, seeing that we've got the worst away record, and think, well, if we're going to have a chance of beating anybody in this league at home, this is going to be it. We, as you mentioned, Matt, we played Swansea away and we got a point. It's our first point on the road since November against West Bromwich Albion. We've been absolutely awful on the road, haven't we?
We have.
So
worse in the league, isn't it? Is it worse in the league?
Yeah, on a points per game basis. Sheffield Wednesday have got the same amount of points away as us, but they've played 2 less games away. So if you look at points per game, we are the worst team in the whole division. 24th out of 24 for points gained.
Thank goodness our home form's good then, because we'd be in serious trouble, wouldn't we, if we weren't picking up the amount of points we were at home.
I don't know what you think, Matt. I think we look at our fixtures. We're going to talk about Sheffield Wednesday now, but I just want to get your thoughts on this. We've got Sheffield Wednesday away, then we've got a home game against Stoke, and then we're away to Oxford. So we've got the bottom 2 away from home in the next 2 away games. What's your thoughts on if we don't get points out of those games in terms of the position of Chris Davies?
Oh, it's got to be questioned then, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It really has. I mean, there's already a spotlight on him. In fact, me and you had this conversation. Do you remember on the drive down to Swansea at the weekend?
Yeah.
And we spoke about Tom Wagner and Knighthead and Chris Davies, and we spoke about, we had a conversation about where's the patience of the board and where's the patience of Tom Wagner going to stop, because he has openly backed him. He has come out and said that Chris Davies is the man for the job. But you can't drop points at Sheffield Wednesday and Oxford and then look back at our away form the entire season and think that that's an okay position to be in. I think if we don't pick up points against Sheffield Wednesday and Oxford, he could be in big trouble.
Yeah, I think so as well, because we have to pick points up, and these are away games that we should pick points up. But with our away form, the way it is, there's no guarantee. And also, we're in that strange phase of the season where we are in the January transfer window. So the club will be looking, well, we know we're bringing players in, but how much scope have you got here? I would hope that we can, because if we get points and win against Sheffield Wednesday, then the last 3 games don't look too bad. A home win against Coventry, an away draw at Swansea, and if it is an away win against Sheffield Wednesday, that doesn't look bad.
You say it doesn't look bad though, but we've been at the away games, Dad, every time we have lost, and it is bad.
Yeah,
I know what it might look like, and I know the points return in an isolated 4-game patch of the season might not look bad, but you still can't look at it in that way. You have to look at our consistency on the road, and it's poor. It's not even poor. That isn't even the right word for it. It's unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, Sheffield Wednesday away is one of those games where we have to look to get 3 points. Now, we look at their stats, they're bottom, as you'd expect, with every single metric. They've got the worst home record, the worst away record. They've scored the least goals, 18 goals in 26 games. They've got the worst defence, conceding 52 goals in those games, so they're averaging 2 goals conceded a game. So everything suggests that that they are in that position for an absolute reason, and we're going there with a little bit, more of, we've got to draw against Swansea, but even though the strange thing is, as a Blues fan, I'm not feeling that we can win easily there. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going there turning up at away grounds, even to the team like Sheffield Wednesday. They've had a terrible season, thinking that I'm confident that we're actually going to win. That to me, just me being honest, but it doesn't feel right feeling like that. So that tells us something's wrong with the team, isn't it? If we're not confident to win these type of games.
Yeah, and this is why. When we did our next 5 games recently, I lowballed really. I think I said 7 points, sort of out of those next couple of games, and the reason was because I've had nothing to watch or to see in recent form that I can up that number, away from home. And we had 3 out of the 5 were away from home. And, we're not getting... I mean, Swansea was slightly better in a little bit of a patch of the second half. But that's it, isn't it? We have moments in games. We don't dominate games. We don't put teams to the sword. We don't put our chances away.
We make silly mistakes.
We have little moments in games, and then we get punished by the mistakes that we're making at the back as well. So at the minute, I mean, away from home, it's just a mess.
It really is, yeah.
And the squad depth isn't helping. We're in the middle of January. We haven't got enough players in. We've had players leaving. We've had players who haven't left yet, but they're not making the match day squad. So, we really, really need to get some numbers in, Dad. Look at the recruitment. Think about those player profiles we spoke about, a physical striker. I know we've got Jan Solis, who's come in for that centre defensive midfielder role. So that's encouraging to see. But we all know the gaps that we have in this team, and we have to fill them quickly if we want to make anything of this season. My thoughts this season, Dad, I'm just being honest, I think it's kind of going to peter away. I mean, I don't think we're a playoff chasing team.
No.
We're not going to be that this season. This season will kind of just peter out with us, I reckon, give or take mid-table kind of finish by the end of it, all said and done. Even if we strengthen in January and we start to click, I don't think we'll be able to get a run of games in enough to really make a push because we're not consistent enough, especially away from home. And that away form isn't going to change overnight. No. It's going to take some time for that to develop. It's going to take these new players a little bit of time to gel, I guess, to some extent as well. So, I mean, this really sounds really pessimistic, doesn't it? It's just my realistic opinion of where we are away from home.
And I think a lot of Blues fans will feel the same. Back to Sheffield Wednesday, I mean, they play a combination of systems. 3-4-1-2's played 7 times this season, and 3-5-2 11 times. So at home may possibly play a 3-5-2. I don't know, but as I say, they've drawn 3 and lost 7 of the last 10. We've only won 2, drawn 4 and lost 4 of ourselves. Then their strengths really, the only strength that comes up this season is that they're good at stealing the ball. They're good at gaining the ball back out of possession. But as you'd imagine, loads of weaknesses. But to be fair, they've had to sell loads of good players that would be in their first team. They've gone to other clubs, and I think they're just trying to. They're just treading water at the moment. And I think that sentiment you said about Sheffield Wednesday fans just wanting this season to be over, I think that's probably a fair comment for them, isn't it? The last game they lost at home to Portsmouth, as you mentioned, and Portsmouth are the only team they've beaten. They beat them 2-0 earlier in the season. In that game, they played a 3-4-2-1 with Jamal Lowe as their number 9 there to Bailey Gadamartri, who he's been linked with a move away.
But that 3, Dad, I just want to jump in quickly and say that 3 that they do play is pretty much a 5 because the wing backs end up sitting quite deep. Yeah. And we'll see it against us, I have no doubt, on Tuesday evening as well, whereas it'll be... I mentioned, I think my opening for the Swansea video was that when we get in a bit of momentum, we get good chances, and then we allow teams to just sit back in that block and that position, and we can't break them down. We'll see that from Sheffield Wednesday on Tuesday as well. They will position themselves really nicely and frustrate us and almost push us and force us into that side-to-side passing. And these are 2 teams here, Sheffield Wednesday and Blues. We don't score a lot of goals. We had a little bit of a purple patch where we scored 4 against Portsmouth, Norwich and Millwall. we had little pockets where we scored a lot of goals, but we're not a massively high-scoring team
No.
on average.
No,
On
no.
average of the games that we take, so
Yeah.
we don't score many goals, and Sheffield Wednesday don't score many goals. So I don't see this being a very high-scoring game at all. Sheffield Wednesday being as tidy and as close to set up as they can in terms of a little bit of a low block, and then we could end up getting stuck into this side to side as well. So when we think about Blues, we have to up the tempo. We have to be brave. We have to have players who are going to carry the ball, take their man on, try a few through balls, and we need to give it a bit of a go in the attacking side of the game against Sheffield Wednesday. And again, that I'm not saying that whole gung-ho or Watta playing as a second striker, but we do have to be cautious. We're away from home. We're not confident away from home. But I want to see us at least be a bit more adventurous and brave in the final third.
Yeah, I think so. I think as well. They've got nothing to lose.
No.
They're going down. They are going down. I mean, that is a fact. Sheffield Wednesday are definitely going down. So they may as well have a go themselves. They've got nothing to lose by having a proper go and trying to win this game. So I think the pressure's more on us than it is on them. To be fair, top scorer at the moment with 3 goals were 2 players, Charlie McNeil and Barry Bannon. And again, there's rumours that I've seen of him possibly being linked with.
I
the
heard
clubs.
this. Yeah, Preston North End. I heard.
There's a
Barry
couple of
Bannon,
clubs
but
interested in him as well, but you need to control him because he's the one that makes them tick. We've said this many times before about Sheffield Wednesday, and if we can keep him under control, we'll be able to manage the game much better. But as I say, I don't go into this game with a huge amount of confidence that we will get a win, which is I'm thinking, well, how can I not feel that against a team that's literally on -7 points? It's just from what we've seen, as you mentioned, Matt, and we've got to improve that tenacity, that cutting out silly mistakes, and being much more positive in the final third.
Also, though, we don't do very well when we have fixture congestion. When we have 3 games in 1 week.
Yeah.
There's always a performance in there which doesn't go the way we want it to. Generally speaking, again, a little bit of a pattern under Chris Davies.
Yeah.
Normally, we saw it in League One where he wasn't rotating enough. We have seen him rotate a little bit more as his career's gone on at Blues, as his time's gone on at Blues. But still, what worries me is when we do have 3 games in a week, especially away from home.
Yeah.
I don't know, we look a bit leggy in games, a little bit tired, a little bit. Teams can really disgruntle us quite easily, which is a little bit annoying. But Dad, we're going to have all those tricks from Sheffield Wednesday. Those sort of teams that just try and counter long balls, direct. They're going to try and do everything that those sorts of teams do. Sheffield Wednesday, I think of Oxford, I think of Portsmouth to some extent. I think of those teams that try and sit back a little bit, try and exploit mistakes, long balls, corners, free kicks, you name it. They will put everything they can into converting those set pieces. But that I've seen a lot of goals that they've conceded this season. And man, they've got a lot of weaknesses defensively, Sheffield Wednesday. I've seen them concede goals through long balls. I've seen them concede goals down the wings, through the centre, set pieces, you name it. Again, they are leaking goals left, right and centre. So if there's ever a time to go to Hillsborough and get 3 points, it's on Tuesday evening. But as you said, Dad, we're just bouncing off and feeding back of what we've seen for Blues away from home, haven't we?
Yeah, it's a tough one for us to call in terms of who's going to be in the lineup, which I think we should go on to now, really, because obviously we saw the lineup against in our last game away at Swansea. I think we're going to see a similar lineup, and you mentioned rotation because there's 3 games in short succession. So we got this, and we got Stoke on Saturday.
The thing is, though, we've got no squad depth.
This is the point. So even though you want rotation, who are you going to put in? So let's go for it. Let's go for what we think the Blues team will be. So do you want to go for it?
Should I do the whole thing? Should I do the back line?
Yeah,
What should we do, Dad?
Just do the whole team.
Do the whole team.
Yeah.
Okay, I've gone for Beadle in goal. I've gone for Awata at right back again, Neumann and Clara in the centre halves. I believe Robinson's out for between 4 and 6 weeks.
Right.
I've been hearing. I would have put Robinson left side of centre back alongside Clara, but that isn't to be. So Beadle, Awata right back, Neumann and Clara in the centre backs, and I've gone for Wagner at left back again. Although I was thinking about maybe putting Samstead in as a full back. Yeah. But question mark for that for me. I've gone for Paik and Doyle in the middle still. I think he'll be consistent and stick with that. I was, again, thinking of Jan Solis, but do you just put him straight in there? I don't think he will. I think he'll stick to his loyalties. I've gone for Roberts on the right, Duxton the 10, Kumas on the left, and I'm starting with Stansfield in the 9 this game.
Yeah, it's very, very similar team to me. I've got the same goalkeeper and back line. Wagner had a poor game against Swansea, but
that's why I question Samstead.
Who'd you put in there?
Because Samstead's always a steady Eddie.
Yeah, but he doesn't even get picked, does he, Samstead? Again, I'm not overly convinced. As the more time goes on, that Awata is a right back. I'm nothing wrong with his attitude, his tackling. It's just that he's very he's very attacking minded, which is what you want for a wing back, but sometimes just leaves us a bit vulnerable at the back. But I've gone for him there because I think that's what Chris Davis would do. So it's the same back line as you and goalkeeper. I've also gone for Pakendall. I toyed with Solis starting as well, but I don't think he will.
I think he'll come on.
Yeah. And I've gone for Kumas on the left. And again, I wouldn't pick Kumas, but who else goes on
We've
the
got no
left?
one there.
Yeah, Roberts on the right. I've also gone for Stansfield as a number 9 and Duxton at 10. So that's the same team as
same
you. But
team.
yeah, basically the same team as you.
It's exactly the same. Yeah.
I said in the post-match podcast after the Swansea game that, in my opinion, Kubas, Williamson, and Kyogo are not the standard that we.
The word was passengers, and and a lot of people agreed.
Yeah, and I think Kumas. I think that they had this not deal, but this conversation with Liverpool about extending slightly his loan so that they could both as parties sides could take a view, and I think he must have guaranteed Kumas, well, in the next 2 games I'm going to start you in both games, and I think he will again. He weren't disastrous, let's say, against Swansea, but we still the same old traits.
It was poor. I mean,
he put a few crosses in, and but overall, he lost the ball quite a few times, and he's just not the developed player that you want. He's a young player, maybe needs more experience, but he's not right for us right now.
What would you think about Stansfield on the left, putting Kumas on the bench and starting Kyogo in the 9? Again, I'm just talking alternatives.
It's for me. It's just a flip of a coin.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put Kumas or Kyogo in my starting lineup now.
No.
And I wouldn't put Williamson in there as well, which is why I put him on my bench.
Yeah.
But like I said, we haven't got an awful lot of options with all
No.
the injuries and stuff like that. We do need a lot of changeover in the next couple of weeks in January transfer window. But that's what I'm going to go for. But you don't know, do you, with Chris Davis? And I wouldn't be surprised, even though we've picked that team, to see Kyogo starting.
And then Stansfield on the left, maybe. Or even Stansfield rested again because he's coming back from that little niggle, and then maybe Stansfield starts
we look
against
better with Stansfield.
100%.
We look a better team with Stansfield in the team. But I think that I'm almost certain that Kumas will be nailed on to start on the left. So I think this is his last
chance.
last game in terms of what they've agreed with Liverpool, and then they'll go away. Because obviously we're coming to the end of the January transfer window, so decisions have to be made on whether we're going to keep him or not.
Yeah.
So that's what I think anyway. But what about a prediction?
Score prediction. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm probably going to get hammered for this again. But recently I've been getting a few of the outcomes right in terms of draw, win or loss. I just haven't been quite nailing the scores. But I, again, just with what I'm seeing away from home, I'm not very, very confident at the minute. I've gone for our first stalemate of the season.
Are you going for 0-0?
I've gone for a 0-0 draw because both teams don't score many goals.
Yeah, I've gone for a narrow scoreline, but I have edged us as 1-0.
I was toying with that.
But like I said, I mean, I've said through the podcast so far that I'm not overly confident about any. It isn't just Sheffield Wednesday. It's anybody we play away. I just don't think we're just there. We're just not right away from home, and I have gone for a narrow 1-0 victory for Blues, and a lot of that's in hope. And I'm sure there'll be Blues fans out there be looking and saying, "Well, this is Sheffield Wednesday, they're bottom, they're on -7 points." But have you been watching us over the last 6 weeks, 7, 8 weeks? Even before Christmas away, we've been awful away. I mean, really, really, really bad. I mean, there were slight improvements against Swansea, but we still could have lost that game easily. So I've gone for a hopeful 1-0 win. I'm sure people watch this, Matt, and say, "Well, you two are really, really negative." But we sit there in the away ends, don't we? And we actually see it live and see what's going on. And and I think we've always said in the podcast that we'd always give our honest opinion, not what we think opinion will be, what we really think.
No, we've been accused of being the happy clappers in the past, in terms of oh, boys, you've been way too optimistic. And then suddenly when you start giving realistic ones, oh, you boys are really negative, you can't win, can you? So the best thing to do is give your honest opinion. Yeah. I watch Blues week in, week out. We both do. A lot of fans do. And I'm not seeing the away performances I want to see. And I'm not confident taking on anyone away. I'll take anyone at home. We beat Coventry at home. Yeah. I'm not scared of anyone in this league at home. But almost, it's the complete flip of the coin away. I'm scared of everyone away. I know. And I'm just not confident with where we are at the minute. Again, I'm going to go for a 0-0 draw.
Yeah, interesting. But that's what we think, Blues fans. What's your thoughts? Let us know in the comments below, as always, what you think about the team selection. Do you think Jan Solis will get a start? If he does, who's he going to replace? Is it going to be Paik? Is it going to be Doyle? Will Chris Davies ever decide to change formation and try and get all three of them in there? Who knows? Let us know in the comments below. If you're a Sheffield Wednesday fan and you've come across this podcast, then we welcome comments from fans from the opposition team. So add your comments below as well. All we ask is that any comments are respectful, no foul and abusive language, no aggressive behaviour, anything else. Pop your comments below this podcast. So if you did like this podcast, then don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't checked us out on our social media channels already, pop along to our X page or our Instagram page. And if you like to watch or listen to your podcast on Spotify, you'll also find us on there. And you'll see the handles appearing on the screen for all these channels right now. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already and you'd like to, and there's no obligation to do so, but if you would like to, hit that big red subscribe button. And if you want to have notifications every time we put a new podcast out, there's a little bell icon next to the subscribe button. So if you hit that, you'll get those notifications. So that's it for this one. And myself and Matt will see you on the next one, all about Birmingham City.